You stumbled into a show. Probably not the one you were expecting. You were building an AI girlfriend of Blanche from the Golden Girls. You accidentally clicked a pop-up, and you ended up here. Hey, that's fine with me. But I'm more of a designing women fan myself. The show, not another girlfriend app, to be clear. But hey, stick around for those mutant actresses trying to steal magic rings from mustachioed men. And stick around for a creative use of four-leaf clovers. Let's start the show.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers Podcast.
Home video headlines. I thought Sweet Revenge was just going to be like a Jason fan film. But supposedly it's supported and induced. I'm trying to say endorsed, but it came out induced. Said it like a douchebag. Okay, endorsed by the new company kicking out that Friday the 13th new video game and a movie coming out soon. We're getting some kind of short film or video this summer somehow incorporating the Jason Voorhees character. Here's some anticipated horror movies for this year that I'm thinking about. Here they are. Black Phone 2, Him, and The Long Walk. Let me break down their synopses that I found online. Bad dreams haunt 15-year-old Gwen, and she receives calls from the Black Phone and sees disturbing visions of three boys being stalked at a winter camp. Accompanied by her brother Finn, they head to the camp to solve the mystery, only to confront the Grabber. The killer who's grown even more powerful in death in Black Phone 2. Now listen, I had a short film kind of something similar, like the idea of an evil person doing evil, and then if you kill them, do they escape into the world with even more supernatural powers? It's a good concept, so I'm pretty excited for Black Phone 2. Did you see the other one? Because in that one, the Grabber is just like a warped dude. I don't want to use too many negative keywords here, but it's like he's a serial killer, he's a sociopath, he's a psychopath, he's demonic. I don't know if he worships, I don't know if he's talking to like something, but he has a weird mask and he kills people in his basement, and then the phone rings, so the ghosts of his previous victims try to help the surviving victim get out of there. That's the plot of the first Black Phone. Anyway, it's scary. It's scary as hell. It's a good horror movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Moving on. Okay, a promising young football player joins an isolated compound to train under a dynasty team's aging quarterback. That's Him. It doesn't sound scary, but it's supposed to be a thriller. And it's from Jordan Peele, who has the Monkey Paw Productions. He does the horror movies like Get Out, and there's another one. Isn't it called like Them and Us or something? I can't remember what it is, but there's like a mirror universe, right? There's one where there's normal and one pretty twisted, and they switch places in that movie, and then they go after the regular ones or something like that. Anyway, and then he did that UFO one where it's like a creature. Spoiler alert: the UFO in that movie is I also forgot the name of that movie, but it's the UFO in there is like a living creature. It's kind of like a Jaws type movie deal, It's like suspenseful, but then it's like a creature feature. Anyway, okay, and the plot of the third one: a group of teenage boys compete in an annual contest known as the Long Walk, where they must maintain a certain walking pace or get shot in the Long Walk. Now listen, so Stephen King had done like a handful of novels, at least 3, penned under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. And what's interesting about this, he also has a story called The Dark Half that he wrote as Stephen King, which is about a writer that has like a borderline personality disorder or a dark personality that's trying to come through. So it's really funny that he also invented this pseudonym of Richard Bachman and wrote other novels as him. And The Long Walk, it's actually pretty good. So I'm just wondering if, like, what's the origin of that? I don't know, and I'm not going to just trail off on this show like I do know. I'm just saying, The Long Walk is a good novel. Look it up. He wrote it under the name Richard Bachman. Not as Stephen King, but of course it was just, maybe she did it because he wanted to do a different tone, try something else, and that was the only way to do it. I don't know. Anyway, The Long Walk's pretty good. Take a look at it, read the book, get ready for the movie. Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore 2 scores the biggest U.S. opening weekend of all time for a Netflix movie. The best parts are the flashbacks to the original, and Shooter McGavin and John Daly as the roommate. And there's one laugh-out-loud moment when they crash the golf cart during Happy Gilmore's lowest point moment in the Save the Cat type movie that we're getting. Sorry. I think in Save the Cat, they call it the Dark Night of the Soul, not the lowest point. I call it the second act bubble of shit. Here's the defining term from the SaveTheCat.com. The Dark Night of the Soul is a reaction to the All is Lost, where the hero wallows in sadness, mourning what was lost and lamenting that they are now worse off. Okay. Thank you, Save the Cat. Movie of the week. An evil witch seeks a magic ring which is currently in the possession of a mustachioed disciple of black magic. Meanwhile, a snake monster terrorizes the city of Hong Kong in Scorpion Thunderbolt. Cut and pasted from the movie Grudge of the Sleepwalking Woman that was shot in Taiwan and then supplemented with new martial arts footage to complete Scorpion Thunderbolt. You got this actor whose name is Richard Harrison. He plays Richard the Magic Ring Holder, American Tourist. 3 question marks? Yeah, question mark. I mean, he seems like a real fascinating guy. You know, he acts in the 50s, he goes to Italy and Asia, and he's acting through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, acting in these wild fantasy and action movies. And here's his 3 best-known titles. Check out these titles. Ninja Dragon, Terror Force Commando, and Secret Agent Fireball. Now, his filmography and personality seems like if he wasn't a real dude, then he could have been scripted as a character written by Quentin Tarantino. Anyway, Tubi is streaming the Spanish VHS rip of this movie. And it does actually feel like you're watching 2 different movies slapped together, spliced together. You got the police over here fighting a snakeoid creature, and then you got Richard over here fighting the witch who wants his ring. I guess this movie comes from a subgenre of movies called Z movies. Instead of B movies, Z movies. Tonight's movie and most of Richard's career actually get referred to as Z movies, but most of these have found their way into like Asian movie artistic arts film history by now. Anyway. So they're better regarded now than they were when they were made. Probably. That's probably what how it goes. All right. We'll be right back with our favorite bits from Scorpion Thunderbolt right after these messages. Tonight's messages. Get Paramount Plus for 7 days for free. You got that Dexter Resurrection on Paramount Plus Premium. That just dropped. Dexter's back from the dead in a show called Resurrection. There you go. And then you got Season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Also, it's pretty hot right now in the studio. I'm sweltering. We've entered an swamp-ass alternate universe, as they say. But I like to chill out with some Olipop. Banana cream is hitting right now. Yeah, that's right. Like banana cream pie in a can. Here's my top 3 flavors of Olipop. And if you use my code, BWPOD, I think you get like $5 off. It's in my links. Dig it up. Slam down a can of banana cream. And here's my other flavors I love. Ridge Rush. A Mountain Dew type. I'm not talking about Mountain Dew soda. I'm talking about the dew dripping off the mountainside. They caught it and they put it in their own can and made their own flavor. All right? Dr. Goodwin. Does he have 23 flavors like a Dr. Pepper? I don't know. But he's also a doctor. I guess he did a doctorate of being a good soda. And then, of course, I've already mentioned like 3 times the banana cream. Come on now. All right. Back to the show. Already in progress with our favorite bits from Scorpion Thunderbolt. All right. The mustache man getting seduced by an actress during a private screening of her experimental film. They go to make with the sex, and then she tries to steal the magic ring because, of course, she's possessed by the witch. And then, I love the police, the detectives fighting the snakeoid. And then the ending of the movie ends with a freeze frame. Everything pauses. It doesn't move. Which they did a lot in the 80s and 90s. They did these really cheesy things where the screen froze and it either zoomed in or pulled back. Anyway, it's great in this movie. It ends on a freeze frame. Hero is victorious, sword in his hand, fire blazing in the background. He's, spoiler alert, still got his magic ring on his little finger. Freeze frame, the movie's over. All right. Ratings. We do something on the show. It goes like this. Now, later, never. We add binge in because that's the whole thing, the title of the show. It's just a thing that we do, play on words, gotta brand it out. So, binge now, watch it now. Binge later. Put it on the list, but you don't have to watch it now. It's not the most popular thing. Get around to it. Have it on the list for your viewing pleasure. Binge never sounds exactly like it is. Don't watch it. You can't get your life back. You've wasted 90 minutes. You've wasted 2 hours of your life. You can't get it back. Don't watch it. Anyway. I think that Child of Peach is a binge now. And this movie, Scorpion Thunderbolt, I watched because I discovered this title while I was doing research to talk about Child of Peach a few episodes back. And then I thought, this is going to fill the same, it's going to scratch the same itch. It's going to serve the same urge. It's going to fill the same void. No. I mean, this one, it doesn't hit the same spot. Actually, it's a binge never if I'm being super honest. Staff Picks works a little bit differently this week. Besides the movie of the week we want to recommend, it's the 7th summer that we've done Summer Slash, a horror movie marathon over the summer of summer slasher movies. And we're trying to do part 7s, right? Because it's the 7th year. We're doing part 7 sequels. However, we're kind of breaking the rules tonight because we're doing Leprechaun Back to the Hood, which is not the 7th part, because the 7th part sucks and it's called Leprechaun Origins, and it doesn't have the original star playing the Leprechaun, Warwick Davis. No, we wanted to do the last sequel with Warwick Davis playing the iconic Leprechaun. So we're breaking the rules a bit. This is actually part 6, not 7. Clarify. Here's what that movie's about. When Emily Woodrow and her friends happen on a treasure chest full of gold coins, they fail to heed the warnings of a wise old psychic who foretold that they would encounter trouble with a nasty and protective leprechaun. Last entry in the Leprechaun series to feature Warwick Davis, like I said, is the Leprechaun. Back when they were doing Leprechaun 5 in the Hood from 2000, director Rob Spira, almost sounds like Sparrow, Spira. Rob Spira was involved with this project in its early stages and then came up with 2 proposed stories. One set in Venice Beach, and another set on an island during spring break. However, the strong home video sales of the previous film resulted in the producers insisting that the film stay urban, gonna pop it back in the inner city with a cast primarily made up of rappers. Not wanting to rehash that film, Spira left and was replaced by good old Steven Aramayo. I don't know how to pronounce this. We'll just call him director Steven. Good old boy Steven, who was a hardcore film fan of the Leprechaun series at that point. They passed on Leprechaun Spring Break. I mean, there are not enough spring break horror movies. There's so much room to have a springtime horror movie get released. Like during the spring, the slate's open. There's not a lot of movies dropped in springtime. They're dropped at Christmas time, which is odd. They're dropped at the New Year. They're dropped, during October. But if somebody were to niche a series of spring break horror films, man, money. They'll be getting the Leprechaun Gold at that point. Some studio pay attention to what I'm rambling on about. I'm speaking wisdom here. Anyway. All right. This film featured a new outfit for the Leprechaun. Give him a more demonic look. Director Steve had been dissatisfied with the Leprechaun costume before, saying he wanted to redesign the outfit to match the makeup, giving a more darker and gothic Victorian-like design, taking away the buckles, the stripes, adding more muted colors with streaks of black all over, which gave him they wanted to give him more longer hair as well to round it out. They gave him longer claws so he could kill victims in one swipe and be like a vicious animal. The director also toned down the Leprechaun's magical abilities. However, the major magical thing that I noticed in this movie is this is like the only movie in the Leprechaun franchise to have a box of gold that replenishes itself. It's like endless gold. When the box is emptied and then closed, gets reopened, the box is once again filled with more gold. And according to Tony Todd, the studio approached him to do a Leprechaun versus Candyman crossover because they had just done, Freddy vs. Jason. And that was successful enough that they're like, let's do Leprechaun versus Candyman. At that time, both franchises were at the same studio, so they're like, let's do it. But they canceled it. The idea got scrapped because Tony Todd turned it down. It doesn't really make sense. Even if Leprechaun exists in the same world as Candyman, that's not a good mashup. However, they did do a Leprechaun versus Warlock comic miniseries. If you know Warlock and Warlock 2 The Armageddon, which is like Julian Sands is the Warlock, there is a part 3, but it's Bruce somebody. Bruce Green? Is that his last name? I can't remember which Bruce, but there's a Bruce who does horror movies. Like he's in Howling 6 the Freaks as the vampire, Carney or whatever, or the vampire carnival master, ringmaster. But Bruce Ironwood? No, I'm getting all the British Bruce actors all mixed together. Anyway, the point of this whole thing is just to say, like, Leprechaun versus Warlock, it would make sense, yeah, an Irish Leprechaun with magic and the Warlock could exist in the same universe, but I think ultimately they would be butting heads with their agendas in that movie, right? Like, you know what I mean? If you go to the Warlock series, he's like the Antichrist and he's trying to bring about awful things, whereas Leprechaun is more about like kind of like a genie, how a genie works, where it's like he gives you something you want, but then takes it away and takes your life for it, and then gets his gold back, right? And that kind of feeds his need. I don't know. Let's see. Warlock Davis, of course, he's been in Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Willow. He is Willow. He's Willow and Willow, and he's Willow and Willow 2, which Willow 2 was ripped off of the Disney Plus platform like it never existed, but it does exist. There's a TV miniseries Willow 2. I mean, you're gonna have to find like a bootleg, or maybe get the BBC or the British dub version. I don't know. I don't know where that thing's floating around on the internet, but you should look it up. Also, he does this amazing thing. Warwick Davis actually makes fun of himself in a parody series for HBO. It was a short-lived. It had like 2 series. That's what they call them over in England. Instead of seasons of TV, they got the series. They did series 1 and 2. They were shorter than regular seasons. They had like 7 or 8 episodes. And then it capped it off with a special to end the second season. Val Kilmer shows up making fun of Val Kilmer. He's like walking around like Batman. And he's also got like a... in that world, they're also making fun of the fact that he's trying to rip people off by setting up a Willow 2, fundraising campaign that's not real, right? Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's good to see that Warwick Davis has a pretty good sense of humor as a Leprechaun. It's good to see he can make also fun of himself. And the show's good. It's got dramatic elements and funny elements. Look it up. It's called Life's Too Short. It's Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, the producers from The Office. They produced the show with Warwick. Dig it up. It's a nice little slice of life thing to watch. It would also be great if they went back to Mark Jones and Warwick and got them together for just one more ride in a Leprechaun movie. Let's just do one more soft reboot or direct sequel to the first one, or do what the Halloween franchise did. Skip all the middle sequels and just go back to jump off the first one or whatever. That's wishful thinking, but it could happen. It's not that extraneous. Ultimate wish fulfillment for fans would be like, give us Leprechaun Spring Break, directed by Mark Davis, starring Warwick Davis. I'm sorry, I said I combined Mark and Warwick's names. No, Leprechaun Spring Break, directed by Mark Jones, starring Warwick Davis as a leprechaun in Leprechaun Spring Break. Okay. Anyway, I also wanted to do like my favorite bits or my rating on this one, so I also have an additional breakdown from the story. So yeah, the Leprechaun, I agree. The Leprechaun's makeup is scarier. They do spend a lot of time on bong jokes with Leprechaun getting stoned, and it doesn't get funnier as they show it more often in the movies. They do it like 5 or 6 times. The joke works once. To continue it, the punchline gets dropped, and it's not funny anymore at that point. The Leprechaun doesn't have his gimmicks or trickery. Like I know I just mentioned the bong joke, which is kind of silly, but for the most part, there's like an hour of this movie that's really serious, like a drama, and then they backpedal on the Leprechaun stuff trying to be funny after that. Anyway, the kills overall lack bloodlust. There's a trifling hoe who dies off screen, and then they throw her broken jaw into the frame. She had a gold tooth made, so we had to collect the gold out of her mouth, and then she got her jawbone ripped off. It happens off screen, then a bloody jaw gets dropped. That's one of my favorite parts. Then Karate Cop loses a leg. I call him Karate Cop because he's trying to do karate on the Leprechaun. The Leprechaun takes his leg. Karate Cop loses a leg, another favorite bit. I briefly mentioned earlier there was a tonal shift. About an hour in, I don't know what happens. They switch from being a serious drama, kind of, and then they go for a soft drama, and then they go into like the Leprechaun comedy. But when I see tonal shifts in movies, it makes me think that they have to do reshoots. Did they rewrite it as they were shooting the material? Or in shooting the scenes, did the cast and crew change what they got in the can? Like what actually got recorded, so kind of helped shape the story ultimately in the editing room based on what they had collected, what they shot during those days. Yeah, it's an old film phrase, folks. They used to say in the can because, film was a photographic medium. They shot it in a roll of film. It goes into a can to protect it from the elements so it can be processed and blown up on the screen to watch. But now you might say, oh, we got it on the memory card, so it's in the card, or it's in the cloud, because we recorded it digitally and it just went off into the cloud. The Leprechaun does hit on a gangster's girlfriend over a cell phone. I thought that was a favorite bit. That was one of my favorite bits. Because that was like the humor of the older Leprechaun movies. The $5 the $5 psychic turns out to be a real witch with actual magical powers. That was just a waste of time and a special effects budget because she turns a little fortune ball into a glowing orb and tries to fight him. She gets annexed. She dies off screen, but she's clearly dead. She doesn't make it. He says he doesn't have a quarrel with the witch because he doesn't have anything with magical people. He just wants his gold back from the people that are greedy and stole it. Although he's being fed off their greed. I don't. What sustains this leprechaun? Chasing his gold down and killing the people that takes it? I'm not sure. Again, he's like almost like a bad genie. Anyway. All right, next week. Next week we're going to the Vindicator. An employee undergoes an involuntary robotic transformation program as a killing machine that must destroy anything in proximity due to the company's secret weapon project. I almost gave away that I've already seen the Vindicator, but it's a great movie. It's really interesting. It's kind of a Terminator ripoff and RoboCop if they were together a little bit, mashed up. I just remember liking it as a kid, so we'll watch it again. We'll roll it out. The Vindicator. And I'm supposed to follow my list and watch Hellraiser Deader as the next 7 sequel on the Summer Slash list, but I'm not going to do that. I can't do it. I can't watch a bad Hellraiser sequel. What I've decided to do instead was go further down the list and watch Witchcraft 7 Judgment Hour, because I want to watch a witch duke it out with a vampire in Witchcraft 7 Judgment Hour. Listen, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. There's a song in the 90s, I think it's called Closing Time. I'm not going to play it here because I don't got the rights for that. I'm not licensing that music. I just want to tell you that, hey, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.